Okay, just a little bit of a review. Our Colorado state flower is, say it, the columbine. Our motto is, say it, Nil sine numine, which means nothing without God or nothing without providence. Our state bird, the lark bunting. I'm giving you a chance to say it before I do. Our state song, where the columbines grow. Our state tree, the blue spruce. Which 14er was it found on? Pikes Peak. Our state flag is right there. Our state nickname, Centennial State. That means it was signed into the Union 100 years after the signing of the Declaration. All right, I want you to turn to page 19, and we're going to go over the events that you wrote down. You were supposed to write up through 1803, so take that out. If you need to pause me and find that page 19, go for it. All right, on your timeline, the first thing we started talking about were the 1300s. That's a really long time ago. The 1300s, you wrote down that the longest residents were the Utes, and they started living here in the 1300s. That's so long. Let me talk to you a little bit about the Ute people. Okay, here's a little map of where they lived in Colorado and part of Utah even. And they lived here for over 700 years. Check it out. Here's a map of kind of where their area was. You can see all the different states here. And this is the area where they were. Okay, they came from the desert region of the West. That includes the state of Utah. And by the way, that state is named for the Utes. Utah, Utes, get it? Okay. The Utes once occupied much of Colorado. They hunted from the plateaus of the western slope to the eastern plains. In the wintertime, they camped in the southern part. And the Utes spent most of the year in the mountains. That's why they're known as the mountain people. They moved with the seasons. They traveled in small groups. They gathered roots and grass seeds. At first, the Utes lived mainly by gathering plant food. They didn't eat a lot of meat. It was hard for the hunters to kill big animals because they were hunting by foot. And so they sometimes killed pronghorn antelopes by driving the herds over the cliffs. Wow. Deer were a little easier to kill, and rabbits, they took the rabbits. They were the easiest of all. They would take a net, capture it, and then, club them. So that's how they killed their rabbits to eat. If they ate any meat at all. Seeds, dried meat, wild plants, berries, and roots made some pretty nourishing meals. Their diet changed after the 1640s when they got horses. Horses arrived with the Spanish farmers and ranchers who settled in New Mexico. And in 1637, the Spanish captured some 80 Ute men and made them work as slaves. 3 years later, they escaped. And the Utes got still more horses by raiding Spanish settlements after they took with them, when they escaped, they took some of those horses with them. Horses also made it easier for the Utes to hunt bison. Bison provided the Utes with protein-rich food and many useful items. Listen to this. They found a use for almost every part of the animal. They used thick bison hides to make winter coats, robes, and teepee covers. The bison sinew, the tendons from the bison, made strong thread. The women made cups, ladles, and spoons from the bison horns. The flat shoulder blades made good scrapers. And so they got lots of uses out of that bison, that buffalo that they were able to get. Here's a picture of a Ute dress made of deer skin and a pair of moccasins made of buckskin and then decorated with beads. Check this out. Kind of cool? All right, and then here are some other pictures of a mom and her baby, and some children, some Ute children. Here's some pictures. Okay, so that was the first one that you wrote down on your timeline. The next thing you wrote was Peter and Paul Mallet crossed Colorado from Canada to New Mexico, and they named the Platte River. We talked about this. We've already recognized where the South Platte River is. And then in the mid-1700s, the Spanish expeditions into the San Juan and Sangre de Cristo mountains in search of gold and silver. Let me show you where those mountain ranges are. So the San Juans, if you're taking a look at Colorado, the San Juan Mountains are down here. They're actually, I mean, I'm going to say this, the most beautiful mountain range, the San Juan Mountains, if you ever get a chance to go see those beauties. And then over here, we have the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, kind of right over here by this Great Sand Dunes National Monument, National Park. So the Sangre de Cristo and the San Juan Mountains are right here. Okay, we have, okay, we'll talk about that. Then you have written down, in 1776, 2 Spanish priests explore the western Colorado, and they make maps for the future trade routes of the Colorado Plateau. And then you ended with 1803. Our president, Thomas Jefferson, signs the Louisiana Purchase. We studied that in history already. And the U.S. gains 15 states, including eastern Colorado. And that was in 1803. I'm going to show you 1806, and I want you to go from 1806 down to 1894. So you're going to do the 1800s right now. Okay, so you're going to pause once I get a good clear picture here, and you can write down from 1806 down to 1894. Okay, you're going to end with the present Capitol building is finished in 1894. The Capitol building that you can go to today in Denver was finished being built in 1894. So here you go. Okay. All right. Now that you're finished with that, we'll go over a little bit of that in our next video. I want you to turn to page, well, what you were supposed to do was to cut out pictures for pages 57, 59, and 61. Those were all pictures from around the state. And I'm going to show you an example of what a collage should look like. The other day, I said to cut out the pictures, but I asked you not to glue them quite yet. Now, when you're finding pictures, I want you to find pictures that are not huge, but they're not so tiny that we'd have to kind of get really close to your book to kind of see what it is. So we want medium-sized pictures and different sized pictures. Here's an example of what I want you to do. Look at the size of these, okay? Pretending that these are all pictures. Look at how I placed them. I didn't place them all going straight across. I didn't place them all with gaps in between. A collage is where you kind of overlap. Do you see how it's overlapping a little bit? Look at this, especially this corner right here. Now, I wouldn't want to take this and overlap, you know, something that would be important in that picture. So we have to be careful that we're showing still the main scenery, okay? But we can overlap a little bit. And what I want you to do is I kind of want you to lay out your pictures like this. Pretend these weren't stuck on here already. I want you to kind of stick them on there and kind of say, oh, look at, there's a little bit of room over here, or there's a little bit of room over here. You don't have to go crazy and stick, you know, make no room for any space. But do you see how filled up I have this? This is what I want you to have your papers, your next 3 pages to look like. I want you to have a bunch of pictures, okay? So that's what you can start doing when you have some free time with all the pictures that you cut out the other day. On these next 3 pages, you can start gluing them. Remember we said don't put too much glue, that it'll bubble and when it dries, but you want to put enough glue on there so that you're not losing pieces, you're not losing your pictures as well, okay? So I wanted to talk about that. And let's see, I think that's all for today. All right.